Did you know that you can watch the next Fem Forte episode 1 week early on the Stride TV app? Use the code FEMFORTE to get 50% off your Stride TV subscription for exclusive videos and live streams and to chat with me and our incredible community. And at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is about, is creating a space for awesome people to come on and to share their story and their experiences. Welcome to Fem Forte, a place where we have real conversations with influential female music educators and performers. I'm your host, Amanda DeFrees. On today's episode, we are joined by the two people who helped my dream become a reality. Luke and Josh Gall are people that I am lucky to not only call my coworkers, but my closest friends and biggest supporters. It started off as an idea pitched via Zoom last fall, and now, months later, here we are in a studio I can call home.
Let me start off by saying that this is wildly exciting. This is so cool that we get to be a part of Fem Forte, something that came from you. This is not something that we started. This is not something that we even dreamt up. This was something that you dreamt up, said, I want to do this, and now you're doing this. Now, the coolest part about when this interview is happening is you've already shot season 1. So you've already interviewed lots of people. You've gone through wild experiences, and now we're here. And actually, to kick off the entire series, we're actually looking back on the series. So it's a really interesting thing. I'd like to start just a little bit, honestly, about you. I'd like to know, I know who you are. Josh knows who you are, but there's a reason you started this podcast. There's a reason that when we said, hey, let's have some passion projects, you immediately said, I want to do this. So can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? Like, where did you actually grow up? I mean, were you into music right away as a kid, or was this kind of like a late thing where you got into music?
I actually always knew I wanted to do music. I don't remember what show it was. It was some kids' cartoon that I saw on like probably either Disney Channel or Nickelodeon. And there's just this really, I don't even know what kind of species of a character this was, but just playing drums.
Species of a character?
Yeah, like it wasn't even, it wasn't even like an animal. Like I remember it very vividly, but it was kind of had like 6 legs and was like playing drums, like and I kind of always knew that I wanted to play drums and percussion specifically. So when the option came in middle school for me to pick band as my first elective choice and to also audition for percussion, like most things, I have a plan and I stick to that plan and I do everything that I can and make the plan to achieve the goals I want to achieve. And so when the time came for band auditions, there was like 40 other 5th graders packed in a room because percussion is a very popular choice for most people, and I was so scared. I thought I wasn't gonna get it. I thought that, you know, I had to make the cut, and luckily I did. But leading up to that point, I had bought the practice pad, I had bought all the things, and of course I didn't know how to read music at that time, but I was very solely dedicated to landing the, you know, beginner band percussion spot. And when I did, it was such a glorious moment. And since then, I've been that band kid. In school, I kind of grew up where I wasn't necessarily popular, but I was very well known for being super passionate about band. I was that band nerd kid through and through.
That's not a surprise at all. I wish I could meet like
High school Amanda.
Yes, so I was very dedicated to what I did, and you know, tried out for middle school section leader, and that led into me being drumline captain at my high school. And yeah, I mean, I pursued music all the way through college. I wanted to be a jazz studies major, so that's something I pursued my first year of college, and all I wanted to do was play drum set for the rest of my life. I even auditioned for Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts, and got accepted into their program. And so, yeah, I was super passionate about music, and because of that passion, it has led me to where I am today.
Can I ask a question about going back to the elementary school thing, or whenever it was that you were auditioning sort of for the first time? Mm-hmm. Is that one of your first memories of like wanting something, planning for it, like achieving it, and then feeling like you sort of exercised that skill set?
Absolutely. I definitely think that, I mean, I am very career goal achievement driven. And that's a huge quality that if you like look at the Enneagram, I'm like a 3. And what that means is like very goal achievement driven. And I'm a solid 3.
That is true.
Yes.
Anyone watching, anyone listening, that is true.
So yeah, I would say like that was really the first thing that I really wanted. And I am someone who will take any measure possible to get what I want in the best way.
Yeah, you know, that makes sense. I mean, just to wrap up that sort of idea, you know, I think one of the things that's cool about this space, you know, being in band or music or whatever, is that like probably pretty early on it exposes people to like, here's my goal, here's what I have to do to achieve it. I did it. Cool. How can I apply that in other places in life? And I think now that we've gotten to know you a little bit, you know, personally and professionally, all of that makes sense. You know, you're like, I wanted to play percussion. Here's the plan. I'm going to do it. Check. What's next? Yeah.
One of the things you said was, well, hey, and now I'm here. There's a lot that happened between you drumming and now here, because you're not a professional drummer with UDB, but you are in media. So at some point in time, there was a moment where media entered your life, where you maybe picked up a camera, started recording, taking pictures. When did media like start to enter your interests?
Well, I would say media kind of always trickled in, probably in high school. When GoPros came out, I was that person who had a GoPro on a tripod and even had a YouTube channel dedicated to my drumming. I also had like a very like marketing mindset because I thought I wanted to be this studio touring professional musician for the rest of my life. I was like, oh, people like this have to have a huge social media following. They have to create clips and promote themselves in order to get endorsements and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where that came from. Was I started filming practicing sessions on my phone. I started filming my performances on GoPros and just uploading it to YouTube. And it wasn't until, I believe, sophomore year of high school, I actually took a video production class. And that's when I learned multicam editing. And I was like, oh, I can make my YouTube dreams and videos even further. And so
is your YouTube channel still active?
Yeah, yes, it is. It is.
Do you want to plug it?
It's just my name, Amanda DeFrees, and that's literally
Tomorrow everything's gonna be unlisted.
yes. And
you're gonna have a new subscriber though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me.
And so that was the channel just dedicated to my drumming, and in having some video production skills under my belt through that class, I then got 3 GoPros and then did the whole multicam wannabe YouTube popular drummer. And senior year of high school, we always had band banquets, which were essentially like informal band proms at the end of the year, where, you know, you would get awards, seniors would get awards, and just like a little dance area, essentially like a band prom. And it was a tradition that at the end of our band banquet, we would have band banquet videos. And my senior year of high school, I made this band banquet video kind of just recapping the entire season, marching and concert band, and people, you know, essentially a slideshow where people submit photos and videos, and I just put it to music. But there was a dear friend in band. His name was Joshua Salazar, and I believe right before the beginning of senior year, he passed away in a car accident. And because that year was so special and all of our performances were like, oh, we want to dedicate all of our performances to Joshua Salazar, I actually attended school and have known him since elementary school. I wanted to make that special tribute, and I didn't want to just, you know, like every other band banquet video, just throw pictures on a screen and just put random music. Like, I really thought, what is the best way, best creative way that I can, have a special memoriam to him, and it would mean a lot to well, not kids, but the rest of the students and the parents who were there and the, band directors who were there. And so I tagged that as kind of like a surprise thing at the end of the video. And I just remember everybody sobbing. And I even had a mom come up to me, was like, "Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for that." And, I really didn't expect to receive such an overwhelmingly positive and emotional response. But the fact that I was able to move people just through the basic video editing skills that I had really did tell me that this is something I like doing. And at that time, even though I still pursued music my freshman year of college, it wasn't something that I saw as something doing full time. But through college experience and through figuring out kind of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to hone my career on, I found that media was the better option for me. And I was a sports photographer, videographer, and working with the school newspaper. I even created a volunteer role of me doing media with our music department. And so I was like the marching band director of media at the time. I mean, that role technically didn't exist, but I just created it. And I even,
that's what the best people do.
Yeah, and I even had my own media team and helped show them through the ropes of really creating a social media presence of the Javelina Marching Band on the internet, which was really cool because that was really nice to be like, I established that and helped create that. And I knew at the end of the day, through my experience in the multiple media roles that I've taken on, I eventually wanted to blend my passion of music and media together.
Yeah. So when you sort of made that decision to switch, or you felt maybe like there was maybe a calling, like in one direction or the other, what was next for you? I mean, clearly, you're a plan and a goal oriented person. So what plan were you following versus what path were you crafting for yourself? Like once you made that decision.
Yeah, I think the plan that I was following was trying to pursue music full time. At that time in life, I was taking as many credits as I could in college because I wanted to graduate early. And to be honest with you, unfortunately, that was one of the pinnacle moments that actually made me switch majors. I don't really talk about this a lot, but one of the things of why I decided not to pursue music performance full time was I practiced and practiced and practiced, and it got to the point where I lost the fun out of playing. And I practiced so much that I just ended up in a really bad mental health spot. And it was through that realization that I honestly needed to pivot. I needed to take a step back, and which is why media out of nowhere helped me change my major to communications. And honestly, that was the best decision I could have made because it has helped me land so many more opportunities, and has, at the end of the day, music came back. And through that, I was able to play again. And I recently had an opportunity with SeaWorld San Antonio, and I was able to play a quartet Mardi Gras show. We did like 5 shows a day per weekend for like 2 to 3 months straight. And to be honest with you, that was the first time that I've picked up a pair of sticks since 2019. So I was a little bit rusty, but it was that moment that I found my love for playing again, because I'd taken such a strong step back. But also at the same time, I went back into mounting GoPros to our little percussion setup that we had. And in creating that just for myself, I was able to pitch that to the owner of the entertainment company who hired the contracted musicians. And then I was able to, for the first time ever, get paid to travel outside of the state to film the music performances that they had at other theme parks. So it was really cool experience, and having more of an immersive experience and more involved with music, but on a different side. Like I said before, it's just helped me explore so many more opportunities that I never got before. Like, for instance, since coming on to UDB, I had the fortunate chance to go to DCI finals for the first time, and I've never experienced that. Unfortunately, I never really got to experience drum corps, but just being on the sideline with camera, having your face blasted, I mean, that's a whole other experience. So that was super, super cool, and I'm super grateful and fortunate that I've been able to have those opportunities. And now, a word from our sponsors. Fem Forte is sponsored by Ultimate Drill Book. UDB app modernizes marching band. Spend less time, have more fun, and achieve at a higher level. Just upload your drill from Pyware into the UDB app, and everyone in your band gets animations with your show music, precise pathways, syncs music, notes, props, and so much more. It's just easier. Head to ultimatedrillbook.com and use code FEMFORTE when you order to get 20% off UDB App Pro. Stride TV is now available to download on the App Store. Watch exclusive videos like Fem Forte, Inside Drum Corps, Charity Chase, and so much more. Use code FEMFORTE at checkout to get 50% off premium features like community chat, live Q&A with me, and behind-the-scenes content. Stride TV is home of the arts, a dedicated media platform for the arts community.
You are certainly someone that creates for yourself. If you want something, you're not always the kind of person that just goes and asks for it. You say, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can figure this out myself. And as we shift to this podcast, this was another one of those examples. So, when music wasn't working out for you, you switched something. You didn't necessarily ask. You said, I got to change something. And when you started drumming again at SeaWorld, you said, you know what? I think this would be cool. I'm going to go create something. And when you came into UDB, you also have been creating every single day, but specifically with Fem Forte, this was born out of something. And there's a lot of somethings, but I think it'd be really interesting to hear from you. What was the first reason that you wanted to start Fem Forte? If you could pin it down to one, maybe two things, two reasons of why you wanted to start this podcast, what would those be?
I would say, in my music career, specifically being a female percussionist in a male-dominated world, I'm super passionate about female empowerment and female support. And I've been very fortunate to have the people around me be very supportive of me. But I've also noticed the gaps in other parts of our community that unfortunately don't have that. So I would say that's number one, just in my personal upbringing and my personal experiences. But I would also say being a part of UDB and having more intimate contact with female performers, female educators who are in this industry and community, I've been able to have those conversations and really get a wider scope or a wider perspective of some of their experiences and how that is affected in our community. And so because I realized not only are women in general underrepresented, but also I have this thing where I feel like if someone doesn't do it, I will kind of mentality. Again, I don't plan on changing the world, but I want to at least do some part in my community because it's better than doing nothing.
As a follow-up to that, we've had some conversations off camera, and you're at the end of season 1. And one of the things that you have mentioned to me is that what you thought it might be at the beginning is not quite how it ended up to be in terms of the process or the people or what the people said on the podcast. So can you go back to 3 months ago before you shot your first interview? Where was your mindset? What did you think was going to happen before you shot those episodes? What kind of stories did you think you were going to hear? What kind of people did you think you'd bring on? And what did you think the outcome was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started this, the original tagline was, oh, yeah, I want to inspire and empower young women and have real conversations about female performers and educators that have struggled as women in this community. But I learned that it's not always that. There is also a pool of women who have also been very fortunate to not necessarily experience those struggles. But it's also, while it's important to have those conversations, it's also shouldn't be the identity of what the podcast is, because we're not necessarily trying to spread negativity and have a pity party of things that we've struggled with, but it's also in relation just celebrating human beings. Is I've learned through the last couple of months that it's not about always having difficult conversations. It's just celebrating them and their accomplishments as human beings in general. And at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is about, is creating a space for awesome people to come on and to share their story and their experiences.
Yeah. And are there, now that you've done all of these episodes, what is it that you're maybe taking away from like all of these like incredible people that you've interviewed? Is there like one or two bullet points from each person, or, you know, that sort of collective where you're like, you know what, like they all just decided to go for it, or they all needed to have a support system that wasn't there, so they had to create one for themselves? I mean, is there anything like that you feel like is sort of a connective thread between all of the guests?
Yes, I will say one of the main things for me is when starting this podcast, and I mentioned it in a couple of episodes, I started with women power suit, trying to look as clean and as professional as possible. And some of my friends were like, oh my gosh, you should bring it back. And yes, I will.
It is a power suit.
Yes, the purple power suit is there. I almost wore it today, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna go a little bit more casual, and that is purposeful because there was a certain mindset changed within recording these last couple of episodes. Was because I'm 22, and even though I'd like to think of myself as an adult, subconsciously I still kind of had this student mentality in a way, that because these are awesome, you know, female educators, I thought that I had to uphold myself to a certain standard and be very poised and back straight and everything. But at the end of the day, in talking to some of these people, I realized that at the end of the day that they're kind of just like me, just like everyday human beings. And that was honestly very hard to come to terms with and accept. But it also helped me, one, cash things down a little bit, but two, help me be a little bit more comfortable, because I was so scared to embarrass myself in front of them, because I'm new at podcasting. This is not necessarily something I do or that I'm used to even being in front of the camera, because I'm always behind the camera. And so because I have such high standards for myself in general, I felt so much pressure to kind of come off as this really put together person. And like I said, at the end of the day, I just really learned to relax. And, you know, these are people that I could grab lunch with if I really wanted to. These are people that, you know, we enjoy musical theater together, or we also, you know, there's similar interests where we can be just normal people. And I think because I look up to these role models so much, I kind of, in a way, associated them with almost like a celebrity status in my mind, even though I know like in our community there is really no true like celebrity. But yeah, it was just kind of learning that at the end of the day they're also human beings and very relatable. I think that's one of the things that I hope that this podcast brings, and I think that what makes this podcast special is you have these real conversations with these educators, and you think, oh, because they're from X program, that of course they're bigger and better because X, Y, and Z, because they have more money, so on, etc. But no, I mean, they also go through the same figuring out what time management is, work-life balance, and you know, some of them even have kids, and you know, trying to figure that out. So yeah, it's just being able to relate to them at that human level is kind of the forefront of all of this. And that's something that I've learned about this podcast that has helped me be a little bit more centralized of the vision of this podcast. I think initially I wanted it to inspire specifically young women in terms of like middle school, high schoolers that are interested in music or music education. And this, you know, listening to these awesome band directors and performers and musicians will help them elevate their career was the initial goal for all of this. But I think even better outcome came from it, to where no, even people like who are their first year teaching, or even people who think they still haven't figured it out that are 15 years in teaching. You can listen to this podcast whatever walk of life you're from, and be able to relate to at least someone, and be able to either feel your voice heard through similar experiences, or be able to get some advice from someone who you think is kicking ass right now.
One of the most inspiring things about this podcast is you. From the beginning, you've wanted to put the mic in front of someone else and have them tell their story, and that be a means of learning. But what we are finding, and it sounds like what you are finding, is you are very much a main character of this. Your journey. I mean, in 3 months, you've gone from, I thought it was this, and now it's this. I thought I have to wear the purple panda power suit, and you're going to be yourself, and all of those things. So there's a real transformation happening, not only within the community that you are leading, but also within yourself. And I think that's what's so inspiring about this, is following your journey too, because over time, you've become more comfortable behind the mic and in front of the camera. Your questions have changed. The dialogue between you and the person you're interviewing has changed, and that's just been an inspiring thing to watch. And I think that's something that people are going to take away, is following you as well. Now, as it relates to season 1, you've had a lot of different guests throughout all around. You've filmed on location here. You've filmed other places on the road. Can you give viewers and listeners a little idea of what's to come in season 1 of Fem Forte? Who are we going to hear from? What kind of stories are we going to get? What kind of funny moments are going to happen? What kind of things will be revealed in season 1? Of course, you can't boil,
tell us without telling us.
Yeah. But what can we expect?
Wow, that's a heavy loaded question, but I can say that you can expect different people from different backgrounds and all walks of life. We have amazing band directors, some people who are very personal to me, and some people who I loved the journey of just getting to know them. Some very well-known band directors such as Katie Van Doren, Jana Harvey, Jennifer Hanford, but also it was really cool. I got to bring on Elizabeth Jansen, who is the Associate Director of Music from Texas A&M Kingsville, my alma mater. And initially, in sending her the initial email/Facebook message of having her on the show, it was a huge thank you. And one of the things that she says on the podcast was, it's very rare that I get a sincere thank you from a student. And it's like being able to not only celebrate her and me celebrate with everybody why that person was such an important part of my life, but it was also, again, just sharing her moment to shine, but also sharing a huge reason of why I do what I do now.
Yeah. So, given that season 1 has happened in real life, right, but they haven't seen it yet, what, in your wildest dreams, what's next? Just continuing down this path. Are you inspired to find people outside of music, people from different nationalities? I mean, I think you've probably already started to uncover a little bit of this is such a unique experience that like these 4 or 5 people have, and just realizing that like one of the things that's great about our activity is that like the diversity that's sort of not only built in, but that we have the opportunity to engage with. But like, so what's next for Fem Forte after this season?
Well, what's next is, I think the focus for this season were female educators. And I think I will always have female band directors on. But I definitely think that expanding outside of that, I've reached to some people who are still educators, but are doing phenomenal things as performers. There's 2 people that I'm hoping to have on soon that are living in New York currently and being like professional musicians. One of them right now is on a Blue Man Group tour, and the other one just finished a tour, the national tour of Chicago. So just being able to reach that larger audience and share those stories. I think in general, this can go beyond music eventually. The initial goal was to talk to anybody in the performing arts industry, and I think that's still true. But yeah, right now the music is still very much the focus, but I really do hope when this becomes, season 2, 3, maybe season 10, if we get there, that it could still be any person in the performing arts space and not just music.
As we wrap up here, what can the community expect from you, Amanda DeFrees? How do you plan to engage with listeners? How do you plan to chat with them on the comments, or take suggestions, or even get ideas for people to, that they want to hear on the show? What is your plan for engaging with the community?
Yeah, well, I will certainly be on social media, but the goal is to create a space, whether that's a website or forum, where community can get together. The hope is for the community to share in some listeners' questions, either relating to me specifically or questions that I can ask guests, or who knows, maybe we can, some of the episodes that are gonna play, if you have specific questions for the guests who are on, maybe I can have them come back on the show and answer some of those questions. But the whole goal is to create a community of support and welcoming and celebration, and I want to engage and foster that as much as possible.
Maybe in a closing statement to those who are watching or listening, what's the biggest thing that you want them to take away, like from this experience? They're going to have the chance not only to listen to you, but listen to 8, 9, 10 awesome guests. So like, what is it that you want them to like always keep in the back of their mind as they're listening to these things? I
think one of the biggest takeaways that I've even learned for myself that I hope listeners get from this is, one, give yourself a break. Everybody's going through similar things together. And that's the biggest thing I've learned for myself, is to kind of ease the pressure off, is to give yourself a break, take a deep breath, but also know that you're not alone. We're all kind of in this together. And if you have any questions or any concerns, or even just feel the need to reach or use your voice, I'm getting to use my voice in a very positive way, and I encourage you all to do the same.
Yeah.
Well, Amanda, we cannot be more proud to work with you. We're so glad to be on your team, and we are so excited for season 1. I hope everyone who's listening right now will listen to all those episodes, because they are amazing. They are inspiring. And the coolest part about this is it's just the beginning. Yes. And so congratulations on all the work that you've done. We are so excited for you, and it's only up from here.
Thank you. Fem Forte is produced and hosted by me, Amanda DeFrees. Theme song is by Humans Win. For more information, follow us on social media at Fem Forte Podcast and StrideTV.com.